Sorry about that.
Exceptional Radio.
It's Sunday. It's 290 degrees Kelvin outside, which is actually pretty chilly. Blinken meets with the Palestinian leader in the occupied West Bank. And incidentally, last night I was watching Men in Tights, and there's a character named Blinken in that movie.
Well, that was random. Exceptional Radio.
didn't realize that there was a like a you know a representative of the U.S. government whose name is so similar sounding to a character in Men in Tights.
How did it hold up?
Oh, it's
Some stuff just doesn't hold up well.
I I I wanted it
I'm
to be
sure it was
funny.
fun.
It was fun in a nostalgia kind of way. It was some of the humor holds up. Most of it is just kind of uncomfortable.
So, reason I asked is we tried to watch um, a Riff Tracks Cold as Ice, and we couldn't even make it through because it just was so atrociously bad that even like making fun of it was too painful. Um, it's like a Vanilla Ice movie.
Oh my goodness.
It's so absurd. And it's like, if it wasn't bad enough that it's a Vanilla Ice movie, it goes further and it's like it's too 90s for its own good, where there's like just that hard 90s dancing for no reason every like 5 minutes where you're like, what the fuck? There's like a dance break.
Who has this much energy? I was.
But that's what
I
that's
remember
what I
the
also
'90s.
realized.
Nobody had that much energy.
It's like it's cut so that you realize like nobody can dance like that for more than 5 seconds at a time. So that's
Yeah.
why they have to do such quick cuts. It's they're dancing so fucking hard, and it's like, yeah. If you look, that's also part of. It's the advent of the MTV cuts, where
Yeah.
everything is every half second, millisecond, fucking edit, and it's so unnecessary, and they speed up the fucking footage for no reason, and it's just this like a fever dream of what Vanilla Ice thought a movie was gonna be or what a movie should be, and you could tell that every point he's like, yeah, we should do this, and we should have this little kid
Oh my
say that I'm
goodness.
really cool, and like he looks up to me and wants to be like me, and his parents are like, nah, you can't be like Ice, man.
His
And then the kid's
pants.
like,
Oh my god, those pants are insane.
but
Yeah, there's a lot there
a
are a
lot of
lot of
stuff doesn't
movies
hold up.
seemingly from the '90s that just don't. I don't even know. They just don't. They don't work. There's something. There's maybe it's me.
Well, I know there's getting older, but a lot of the stuff is so of the time where you'll be watching something and they'll just drop an F bomb and you're like, oh, whoa, what's that for? And it's like for absolutely no reason. And I think like Goonies or some shit, it's like there's so much random homophobia, and also like in the 90s it's just so casual. um it I couldn't even pick a single film because it happens so frequently where you're like, oh, I don't remember this, but it's definitely there. Like, oh, even Idiocracy is like early 2000s and they're still like f bomb. It's supposed to be satirical, but even still it's
Man,
like,
there's a lot of like Ben
god
Stiller movies
damn.
that I can't watch. They're just too. Ugh. And they're like, if the goal is to make me uncomfortable, then they succeed.
Yeah, what was it, Mystery Men
Mystery Men is
with
really. That's just like the weirdest superhero movie.
Well, fucking Hank Azaria pretending to be Indian again, but like not. It's so weird. It's such a weird. Hank Azaria is such a problematic individual for seemingly no reason. It's like you would think it would be super easy not to be that problematic and then be so unapologetic about being that problematic. But then you're like, okay, this is his thing. He wants to like lean on that quote unquote Punjab accent as if he's a real Punjab, and in the process make it seem like he's a fucking victim because he can't do a Punjab accent anymore. Or dress up straight up like a person pretending to be a fucking Punjab who's not. It's like, I guess it's the same thing as Tropic Thunder,
Yeah.
and except just not funny. At least the Tropic Thunder shit was funny.
So I recently watched, I like power marathon Fargo, the series, and it was actually very good. It was very, very enjoyable. But I went and rewatched Fargo the movie, and it holds up very well. It's
Do they
still,
have anything to do with each other?
yeah, they still take place in Fargo. There's still sort of there are casual links within the story universe.
Mm.
But
I assumed it was the same city, but that's
yeah,
like,
same story universe. And but it's I mean, at its heart, it's a crime drama that just happens to be a dark comedy. So on some level, I think that lends to its success. Whereas, like, I don't think Half Baked is funny anymore. I'm not sure it was ever actually funny. Like, there are a lot of movies that I remember laughing during the viewing of, but man, I can't even press play on like Dumb and Dumber. There's an entire genre of movies that I can't watch
it wasn't really
anymore.
funny so much as it was like a meme event.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Everything doesn't necessarily have to be funny to be amusing. Like people singing the Talk to Samson song together is like, that's fun, but it's not necessarily funny. And I think, yeah, it's not, I don't know if it was ever funny, in that it was trying to be a movie, but hit the beats of sketches like within the movie. And it didn't necessarily work. And all the characters are really contrived. So it's like, yeah, Half Baked is, I mean, and it wasn't even really written by actual stoners. So like a lot of it is not gonna hold up. And that's okay. But like shit like How High is still not, it was never funny. There were funny parts, but it was about the event anyway. It's like you sit around and smoke weed and watch it. It's not like you don't watch it expecting to, like, the same shit with Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
Like Cheech and Chong's not really funny. It's like meant to be, it was like background stoner entertainment before podcasts existed. And I think a lot of people, if they thought about it, those types of things happen, it would be like you'd take, Wizard of Oz and put on Dark Side of the Moon, and then people would like take acid or whatever and have
and marvel at the synchronicity of the two.
Right. But you don't watch it the whole time. You're not like paying attention the whole time. You're like talking to people while it's happening. And that's where, even before Twitch, I remember we would get together and like one person would be playing like Final Fantasy X or some shit, or Grand Theft Auto. If it was Grand Theft Auto, people would maybe rotate the controller. but like one person would be playing and everybody else would be smoking weed watching. So this stuff existed before internet made it more accessible, but I also think that it the reason the shit existed wasn't necessarily to be funny. And I think that's where it may appear to be a comedy. It's definitely not a drama, but in that it's not actually a lot of the stuff's not actually funny, especially over time, it doesn't hold up. So then that's where it's like you want to call it like a it's like a stoner movie.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't get its own category because you can't pitch that at like an executive meeting. But then if you go look at like Your Highness or like a lot of stoner movies just aren't really funny, but they're meant to be smoked along with, which is like it sounds stupid because it's not really it's like a vibe. It's not in the same way. Have you seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Oh, sure.
It's not meant to be watched sober. Like if you watch it sober, you're gonna miss a lot of the way that film is constructed. It's meant to be watched on like whatever your drug of choice is. You're supposed to like take that shit to the extreme and have that on the background. It's not like I'm sure a bunch of people watched it sober and were like, "Oh, this is a fantastic piece of cinema," but that's not what that film was. It's like gonzo film, and when you have something that's like gonzo, it's meant to be experienced in the extremes, which is that's why it's extreme in the first
My
place.
my my
So
my take on Gonzo is that you are the camera in the room, but it's not cinema veritas. But you are the camera in the room. Like that's how you get to participate. Really, it's replacing your eyes. Granted, you get this like there's the fourth wall that prevents you from actually interacting, but no, that's a really good point. There are a lot of movies that are like that, but I don't think Half Baked is like that. I don't think that it rises to the level of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
oh no, no, and even then, yeah, it's one of the worst stoner movies that had one of the highest cult followings for a period, but there just wasn't that much like before Half Baked. It was like Cheech and Chong, there wasn't what Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Um, there was very few stoner films that would even be considered as stoner films, and half of the Cheech and Chong stuff is just like them being ridiculous, which I don't think that necessarily gives stoners a good name. At least with how high there's a variety of stoner types in the film. So there's like the smart stoner, and there's the paranoid stoner, and there's the dumb lazy stoner. It's not all the same dumb aloof laziness where it's the same. Cheech and Chong are basically the same person.
Yeah,
um and that doesn't make for actual dynamic storytelling. It's just very one note, which is fine. um Especially when again it's like meant to be in the background. uh but then you look at like, okay, Requiem for a Dream, for example. It's like if you tried to do drugs and watch that film, you're gonna end up like in a terrible
Yeah,
place.
that would be traumatizing. That would just that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Or like,
I think if one smokes enough weed and watches what's that Alien Resurrection, they'll realize that it's truly a comedy.
which one? Oh, what's it called? Um, damn, I can't even think of the name of. But whichever, not Covenant, Prometheus is a fucking low key stoner movie. The deleted scenes, they're like growing weed on the ship, and you don't. Oh wait, no, it is Covenant. My bad. It's Covenant. Covenant is the one where they're growing weed on the ship. Um, and it's like they fucking like what's it called? I think is
They have a hydro farm or something.
they definitely have it's like a I think it's a hydro farm, but it's like a huge farm, and then David is like suggesting people smoke weed to calm down, and he has like pre-rolled joints and shit that he gives them, and it's totally like a deleted scene, but that means that ship has weed growing on it, so technically that's it's a stoner movie. Oh yeah, because then that one on Prometheus, the dude is like smoking weed in his fucking spacesuit, and he's like, "It's not tobacco." And
So apparently,
then he
fresh
fucking gets
raw
killed.
marijuana has a perfect 3-to-1 ratio of omega-6 and 3 fatty acids, and fresh raw marijuana has abundant supplies of nutrients like magnesium,
Mm.
phytosterols, ascorbic acid, beta carotene, calcium, folic acid, fiber, iron, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, riboflavin, niacin, and thiamine. It sounds like a multivitamin.
There was like a calzone place in
That's like a
Bloomington that
super
was using
multivitamin right there.
it
That's
was the marijuana seeds oil that they were using in their dough
hmm,
for that reason. I forget the name of it, but it was like a calzone only place.
yeah.
Um, early 2000s, very briefly. But that was the big thing that they were leaning on, in that you know what was it? Hemp hemp seed oil and hemp seed flour were very high in nutrients, and that was like
Wow. Cannabis seeds have the most nutrients. In 100 grams of hemp hearts, which are cannabis seeds without the shells, there are 32 grams of protein,
yeah, it's pretty
which is more
pretty
than in meat or eggs.
and they taste good.
They contain all 9 amino acids that our bodies can't make on their own. Let's see what else? 49 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbohydrates, 4 grams of fiber. Um, it's not essential, but that's good. Vitamin A, B6, folate, niacin, riboflavin, vitamin E, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, zinc. I mean, this is straight up like there's sugar in the leaves. What the crap? And they have sugar?
It really is a wonder plant.
This is like everything. I wonder how long one would last. They'd probably have a really weird um, deuce if the diet was consisted entirely of hemp leaves and seeds. But 32 grams of protein's a lot.
Yeah,
I think a steak is only like 23 grams of protein per 100 grams or something like that.
I think that sounds low, but I guess it depends on the cut. I feel like it's like 52, but
Um,
I could be wrong.
mm,
Well, for per 100 grams, yeah, that's no, it wouldn't be 52. I feel like, yeah, maybe. 20s sounds more, but I'm thinking of like 400 grams, you end up with like 80
Yeah.
because you're not gonna eat like a quarter, like 100 gram steak.
100-gram steak. Man, if we had to start like ordering steaks by the gram, that's like the future of Star Trek. I'd like a 400-gram steak, medium rare, Montreal seasoned, with a wedge salad. Then you press it, then the computer just beams it in. Like a 430-gram steak. 20% fat.
Yeah, it is like about 25 grams per like 100 grams of steak. So that's where, yeah, if you're eating 100 gram steak, that's weird. It,
That's like a
yeah,
steak
even
sandwich.
a filet mignon is gonna be like 200 at least grams.
Well, it looks like 100 grams is 3.5 ounces. And
Oh, I mean, I guess that's some fillets are probably gonna be there. Just about.
4 to 6 ounces. Huh. Well, I guess that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I would have thought a fillet would have like a higher meat to everything else ratio, but I bet it really is cut specific because some cuts of meat have way more fat than others, and some of them have bone in. I'm sure that these things all like throw it all off. Because unless it's
Nah,
just measuring.
filet mignon is 28 grams.
Oh wow,
Yeah, so
huh? That's the nutritional value of beef. Weed has more protein and better protein than beef.
I mean,
That's the
numbers don't
reason
lie.
that's the reason it's fucking illegal because the beef industry is like, no, we can't lose our lunch to these pot smokers.
Yeah, numbers don't fucking lie, man.
So within like around the time of the environmental collapse, we should see Purdue University releasing its guidance for producing hemp beef.
Yeah, instead of fucking pea protein.
Yeah, it won't be pea protein, it'll be hemp because we'll get all we need from it. We can grow it anywhere.
Wow, cow beef has more protein than bison. I would have thought bison had more.
Interesting. I wonder how much
Jeez.
I wonder how much venison.
Weed is making this stuff look like low protein. Deer's lower than that. Good God, I would have thought deer was higher.
Venison, 30 grams. Wow, it's still high, but it's not. It's still not as high as weed.
Well, I just put deer, not venison.
Oh, okay. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it says 26 for venison. So,
Holy. So that means we need to start
still,
feeding.
that's lower than beef.
We need to start feeding our meat supplies weed. Is that what I'm getting from this?
I mean, it's like reaching around the fucking head to scratch the nose at that point.
No,
Just
I
like
know.
eat the
Just
weed.
eat the weed. We can grow it faster. We can grow more of it faster for less. And it doesn't produce methane. And everyone will be so much more chill.
But I guess it's also the ratio of calories and fat
Mm.
to protein. Like I think seems like venison has lower calories, which and not by much, but
Yeah, venison's really lean. Very lean. Like, you practically have to cook it in another animal's fat to prevent it from just turning into leather. So, or you have to braise it. That works really well too. Huh. I'm still highly amused by just the idea of 100 grams of seeds being having more protein than meat.
Well, and it also seems much more sustainable.
I mean,
Like you can
I've seen
make a
plants,
plant produce seeds on accident.
and when you make them produce nothing but seeds,
Yeah, it gets ridiculous when you actively make them.
cultivate cultivate until so they produce even bigger, more robust seeds. That's what we need to do. Make them the size of a peanut. Oh crap! I just threw the peanut. Man, yeah, scratch that. We don't want any like weird weed nut allergies emerging. Yeah,
Man,
instead of spending like, untold amounts of money extracting chemicals out of plants, why not just consume the plant? Seems like that would cut out so many steps. But seriously, cultivating the seeds to be like more abundant and bigger would be pretty awesome.
oh, it's not gonna be FDA approved or Department of Agriculture.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh wait, Colorado's producing hemp-based meat. Okay, somewhere Nepro Foods.
Hemp-based meat replacement of made by vegan substitute regional organic cultivation. 98% digestibility.
That sounds like more than regular beef. Because I imagine the a lot of the fat is not digestible. So like if it's 83%,
Beef loin, 95.3%. Pocket fillet, 95.6%.
yeah.
There we go. It's not, it's not, no, meat products are one of the most difficult foods for the human body to digest. Huh, there
Hmm.
we go.
Yep. Yeah, so I imagine this is probably gonna be easier.
Easier to digest. They can just make it taste right and have the right kind of, I mean, it looks like ground beef. You can always put oil in a pan. I made a turkey burger the other night, and I watched like a 5 minute um, just YouTube burger guy making a burger, and I decided to do what they did and get the oil real hot, get the pan real hot, and then turn it down and just let the pan cook it. And it took longer, of course, but it was fantastic. And it was juicy as can be. Like normally the last time I cooked a turkey burger, I must have screwed it up because it was not like this. But yeah, if the scientists can make the hemp-based meat product taste like an actual burger, then I think that's it. That's
Yeah, I feel like with turkey burgers, you have to use some sort of like
voodoo magic.
no oil
Oh.
or like butter in the pan.
Yeah. No, I started the pan with some oil, very little oil,
Yeah.
very light
Not a
on
lot.
the oil.
Yeah, definitely not a lot.
It was
But
like less oil than I normally would have
you can
used.
go dry so quickly.
And then there was a pat of butter. I only flipped it once, put another pat of butter down, and then when I did the second flip, I put in some onions. And then about in the last like 2 minutes of it, I turned off the heat, put the cheese on the patties, and put a lid on it. And it came out perfect. Everything came out perfect. I think it's the butter actually that developed the crust. It wasn't like the initial pan sear definitely had a lot of influence over it, but the crust that formed was I'm almost certain that was the butter because I was braising them with the oil in the pan just to get the process going a little bit. Also, because that's what the guy in the video did. Um, but they weren't like forming a crust from that. It wasn't until I added butter. Butter is the key.
Yeah, definitely butter can do it. Sugar can do it. And then like straight up heat, but the heat is a risk because then it can burn really easily.
I think
Like,
if it had been like a cut of beef or instead of a ground beef, I would be more inclined to go with high heat to form that crust to get it to brown like that. But ground meats have this tendency because there's beef fat melts really readily, and or just in general, these turkey burgers were oddly like really juicy. I'm not sure what was going on with that. I'm not complaining. I want to make another one at some point, but like go longer and develop more of a crust. See if I can do that. Maybe it's like longer, lower temperature, or find the right temperature. I should get my laser thermometer out and actually like measure the temperature of the patty. But one thing I did notice is that when the first time I moved it, there was a portion of it that stuck to the pan a little bit, and that really got fried. And when I scraped it off the pan, it was like almost like bacon, like turkey bacon style, crispy, salty. A little, it was overcooked, but it had me wondering: is this really all it takes? Like I can take a turkey burger patty, and once I get the sear, scrape that off and put that back in the pan and form like a turkey bacon shaped disc. Can I accomplish? Holy crap! I'm gonna try that now. See, I think that would be like
yeah,
the key to a industrial meat product, even if no matter what it's made out of, is if at varying consistencies. Actually, spam is already a good example of this because if you cut spam really thin, like with a cheese slicer, then you can get it to turn out like bacon, provided you have some bacon grease. At least in my experience. And then if you
have you tried beef bacon?
beef bacon is amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bacons.
Beef bacon is like next level, and I sometimes like hesitate to tell people about it because it's the kind of it's like opening them up a can of worms in the
I
sense
feel
that
like
it's so good.
beef bacon and candied bacon are tied for my favorite types of bacon,
Yeah.
which, I guess you can candy any variety, but candied bacon is, yeah. The fact that you can just eat it on its own, you can put it on stuff, but on its own, it's fucking amazing. Where it's like, man, it's like an unhealthy version of beef jerky, the least healthy version.
It's yeah, it's that's the most unhealthy version of a preserved meat that could possibly exist. But looking at pictures of it makes me want it more. So chocolate covered bacon, that just sounds like that could be a good idea.
Yeah, I'd have to test it out. But I mean, I don't know if you've ever dipped a junior bacon cheeseburger in a frosty where I'm like, this shit works. So I can imagine bacon and chocolate actually being good. It's, flavor combinations are weird, man.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's an entire genre of Indian cuisine that's like sweet and hot in the
Mhm.
weirdest way, and then it works really well. It's the kind of thing where you don't think that like a sweet chili would work until it does.
Oh, I would. Sweet and hot is one of my favorite combos.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
have a
like
honey
like
truffle
sweet
hot
hot
sauce in my face.
barbecue. That stuff's great.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I wonder, would a candied bacon fall under a barbecue, or because it's unless it's I mean because it's not made like a jerky.
No, I mean,
If a meat is smoked to preserve it, does it automatically become barbecued? Is it part of the barbecue family?
it would have to have a sauce, right?
No, I mean they're dry smokehouses.
But those have rubs.
I know, but it's candied. It's got it's got a sweet rub.
But there's like a
I mean, all bacons are like coated in crazy salts to begin with. Like you have to specifically buy low sodium bacon, which exists and is just as good. We don't need.
because okay, this is where I think that this is like going to be the difference between being barbecue and being barbecued.
Oh
Because it's
yeah,
like, yeah, you can be on the grill. Like brisket's not barbecue,
yeah.
right? But it's barbecued. So like
I mean,
this is
they're
I think gonna
barbecue.
be
There's some ribs that never touch a grill that just sit on a rack in a smokehouse, like a big oven, basically.
right, which is where then the sauce is why they're barbecue.
Yeah. Or they have a
So
dry
that's
rub and
where,
they rely on a mop.
yeah. So I think that's where again it's like something with the dry rub can be barbecued and be barbecue, but not necessarily. It depends on like the style of the dry rub actually, because that's where yeah, if it's I so this is where okay,
Because I mean, if it's a
nobody's
smoked
n-
meat,
nobody's gonna call candied apples barbecued apples.
that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So like, but you can barbecue pineapples, and they're not gonna be candied necessarily. Um, yeah, because then if you had candied pineapples, those wouldn't necessarily be barbecue pineapples. So I think that's where it depends on if there's like a barbecue sauce, if there's a rub, or if it's just candying and being in a barbecue. That's like I know it sounds pedantic, but
No, these are important questions.
yeah.
This is how we know which soups aren't cereals.
Well, because it's the same shit where it always like look at like stuff that's on a plate and it would be like a kebab, but it's not like on a stick.
Yeah, no skewer. No, that's not a kebab. That's just like
But
tips.
because of the way it's cooked, it is. So
Yeah.
that's where it's like, that shit was
See,
it was
I
like
don't think of a gyro plate as a gyro. I think of it as like a deconstructed gyro. But if it's not like in the sandwich form, I generally don't eat it like a sandwich. I know
I
that they're
mean,
the same thing, but
but it's not
but it's
in
not because
plate
I'm not
form,
eating it
and
the same way.
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Those are like two completely different dishes. But
Oh, even despite having identical ingredients, they're different. They're consumed
right,
differently.
it's the same shit with like nachos and tacos. Like,
Yeah.
is it the same dish? Of course not, but it's the exact same ingredients. So I think that's where, that's it's possible. Like a lot of different foods have the same ingredients, just in different proportions or even cooked differently in the same proportions. Um, but they're not the same. So like at the same time, it's I guess this is where shit gets to be about like personal taste. So it's like if you want it broken down or if you want it in sandwich form, that's on you. Because then like you could have it on a plate and use a fork and knife. Like when I think we discussed this in a way like if you put two pieces of pizza on top of each other, that does not a sandwich make. But if you bake the edges together, it's now a calzone. So like it a lot of the way we describe things is so conditionally
Yeah, like a stromboli is not a burrito,
specific.
even though it's just like a
A
rolled up
stromboli
pizza.
is also not a calzone,
Yeah,
which is like, wait, what? It's not though. So
yeah.
like I've seen open and closed stromboli. So depending on where you go, a stromboli might be a sandwich or a stromboli might be something that's baked closed. And then there's like a muffaletta. And then there's like all these
Oh,
different
muffalettas are
variations.
my favorite.
They're fucking amazing. But it's like the the specific way like I said, if you cut the edges off a calzone, even though you cut the edges off, it's still a calzone because of how you baked it. But if you put two slices of pizza on top of each other and then fucking stuff some breadsticks on the side, nobody's gonna say that's a calzone. And that's where it's like
Yeah, that's like a pizza. Pizza might
but
be pretty good. That'd be like breadsticks arranged in a set of columns, and you season it. You put the stuff on it, and you put another row of a bunch of rows of breadsticks on it, and you put the toppings on it, and then you put a bunch of cheese all over the thing and bake it.
it's just redundant at that point,
Of
which is,
course.
which is also where there gets to be a certain redundancy with the constructions. So like when they did that chicken sandwich or yeah, I don't want to call it a sandwich, but it was where they used the chicken patties as the bun and then there was like cheese and like I think a slice of deli meat in the middle. Um or maybe bacon or some shit. Um
The double down.
yeah, when they were making those and trying to basically
Yeah, two fried chicken fillets is
anything
the
becomes a
bun.
sandwich at that point. Anything becomes a sandwich. It's like you could put a fucking Xbox controller between two mice or two keyboards, and now that's a sandwich.
Well, I mean,
And it's like,
isn't anything breaded technically become a sandwich?
no,
No?
no, because it's like is fried chicken a sandwich?
I mean, if
Of
it's
course not.
breaded,
No,
it's surrounded by
it's
bread.
breaded, but it's not a sandwich.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not a sandwich. Is a dumpling a sandwich?
Some of them are very sandwich-like, but they're not
They are
sandwiches.
sandwich like, but they're not sandwiches, and it's like fucking beef Wellington. Is it a sandwich? No.
It's kind of a turnover. I bet a kind of beef Wellington might have more in common with
Is
a
a turnover
stromboli.
a turnover is not a
Oh
sandwich.
no.
So that's where again it's like, yeah, it's very much like a turnover, but a turnover is not a sandwich either. So when we have sandwiching and then sandwiches, and then we have open face sandwiches, which is, that's a whole different, like, it's valid, but um it's open face sandwiches should be called X on toast. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
If it was like, oh, an open face uh roast beef sandwich, that should be called roast beef on toast in reality. But we call them open face sandwiches because that's what people decided instead of X on toast.
Yeah.
Whereas they call it X on toast in Britain because if you look at whatever, whether it's like beans on toast or um, you know, corned beef and toast, it's basically just open face sandwiches.
You can get beans on a pizza. What's that? Avers makes a Cuban black bean pizza.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure baked bean pizza would probably be good too. Like it sounds disgusting, but
No, I
it'd
mean,
probably be
Taco
really good.
Bell made that pizza taco thing. That was like kind of like an open faced baked bean sandwich with corn, really flat fried corn bread. I liked those though. They weren't bad. I think they were mostly beans too. Chipotle make a pizza?
I don't know, would they? Because I feel like that place doesn't really like.
Apparently, they
They,
announced a Mexican pizza in 2020,
mm,
but I've never had one.
I guess I haven't been to a Chipotle since like 2010 or something. It's been a long time.
It was definitely before pandemic.
Well, because it was, I don't even know if you could get grilled burritos in there for a while. Like it was like damn near a decade into their existence before you could get a grilled burrito. And
Yeah.
I fucking hate soggy burritos.
I
Because
would
by the
get their
time it started,
tacos, but that's kind of shortchanging yourself.
hmm yeah, grill, tacos are good, but they weren't doing street tacos. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not going into a Tex-Mex place for tacos when there's like an actual Mexican style taqueria around because we have enough actual Mexican uh taco places in town where it's worth it. It's worth a little extra, but yeah, like I said, I haven't gone in Chipotle in a
Chipotle's
very long
still
time.
around? Yeah, of course they are.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Where
They've got a Kirkwood, a East 3rd Street, and a West 3rd Street locations.
mm,
They're all essentially in a line. And I remember when the downtown Chipotle was a McDonald's.
oh yeah, that's right. That's where they are. Oh, ever since that McDonald's changed up, it seems like places have a hard time staying on Kirkwood. I don't know, it's not McDonald's necessarily, but I think the rent is so high that
Well, every few years it
because
seems like one of those buildings catches on fire.
yeah, that's true. Or and then the flood happened.
Oh man. Well, now it's like I'm looking at pictures of Kirkwood right now, and it's like they've got street park or street seating.
Yeah, that's right. They closed down near the square.
Yeah, they closed down on a well, they closed all of Kirkwood off to vehicular traffic from Indiana all the way down to Walnut. Holy crap! Yeah, the closest I've been to downtown in the last decade has been to like a number of Chinese restaurants that are just off of Kirkwood, like on one of the side streets.
Fourth Street.
Yeah, Fourth Street mostly.
Yeah, there's like a fusion restaurant on Fourth Street that's pretty good.
There are a bunch of really good restaurants on Fourth Street. And then there are a bunch of kind of disappointing, but like, got it, you get what you get kind of deals.
Well, it's so hard to get down there
Yeah.
from I don't know, from basically anywhere. Um,
Parking is restrictive. There's always construction. Well, that's the whole section of town where the sewer system was collapsing.
yeah. Did you ever see 10th Street when they had it open?
Oh yeah, that was like
Yeah,
the
that was
weirdest.
it was pretty eye-opening concerning how much of the infrastructure needs to be redone or needs to be updated. Where it's like, if it's like that here, I can only imagine that there's a bunch of places around Bloomington that are like that or worse.
Well, I bet it's the old Bloomington, so it's like wherever the oldest parts of town are, radiating out from there would be the oldest infrastructure. Um, I mean, I've got like a 90-year-old house, and so I don't know how old my water or gas lines are, but I know that they're really old. Like really old. By really old, I'm pretty much saying anything older than me. But I'm not sure how long these things are supposed to last, even. Like, apparently the infrastructure that the city built, before the dawn of time is failing and is being replaced, and they're doing what they can to fix it, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. But um,
Well, luckily, before late stage capitalism hit, they used to build things to last. But unfortunately, those things often would have like toxic or fucking properties that are going to kill you slowly in them, where it's like, yes, lead paint very much lasts, but it also kills you.
Oy.
Or lead pipes.
Oh yeah,
So,
so a few years ago, many like I think like 4 or 5 years ago maybe, there was like a big issue with the water up in Michigan because the state had changed their water purification guidelines, and they were using a chemical called chloramine, which apparently leaches lead out of pipes. And the only reason I remember any of this is because uh, Aaron Brockovich decided to, I guess you know somebody in Bloomington, decided to raise some hell about the pipes in Bloomington, the water infrastructure in Bloomington being really old, and how the city of Bloomington Utilities was like, not keeping pace with all of these things. And it was like right around the time that the the sewage infrastructure or the water infrastructure downtown started to fail. But I think that there's a lot of I think that there's probably a lot of old infrastructure out there that like desperately needs to be replaced, and it's just that it hasn't been had any problems that nobody is aware that there could even be a problem. Yeah, like we all know that like red 40 is no good for food as food dyes go. But like California recently they passed a food safety act that goes into effect in 2027 and they are going to yeah, they're banning red dye and potassium bromate and brominated vegetable oil and
Good.
propylparaben.
Finally. It's you know, it's so exhausting to have to navigate this shit, man, where I'm like, I was eating peanut butter yesterday and I just happened to think about, I'm like, man, I bet they're gonna have some extra oil in here for no fucking reason. And sure enough, it's like soybean oil or some shit. And it's like, dude, the entire reason fucking George Washington Carver invented peanut butter was because he was allergic to dairy and needed some non-dairy fucking butter. So like you can do this on its own and it doesn't need anything else to add in, but they can't fucking help but just adding in some soybean oil.
Well, it
Like,
dilutes the peanut butter and makes it go further. You know, it's what's crazy is one of our friends is allergic to soy products, like wholesale, like so they have to go out of their way to find foods that don't contain soy at all. I never would have
mm,
thought that peanut butter, which is peanut butter, like raw peanut butter, is oily. You have to like remix that stuff up every time because it doesn't have stabilizers, and it's amazing. It's delicious,
mm-hmm.
but apparently
Yep.
it's more
Which is
expensive.
fine because yeah, they'll sell the cashew butter like that in the organic sections, and it has the oil because like you said, when there's no preservatives, that's what happens. You have to keep mixing it up, but that's fucking awesome. So
Yeah, it's the best
you
part.
know, the idea that like Jif can't do that or whatever, like
Yeah, you're telling me, oh, Peter Pan with their whipped peanut butter has got to be the biggest lie. It's like it looks like the same size as a tub of Jif, but it's like one third the mass, and so you know it's all air. It just spreads really easy. Yeah, whoever came up with whipped peanut butter, that person's a jerk, robbing us of actual peanut butter. What's next? Whipped mayonnaise,
oh god.
whipped processed cheese food. That already exists too. It comes in a can, an aerosol can. Um, what else can we whip? Whipped ketchup. That's already kind of a emulsion, anyways. Whipped roast beef sandwich.
Oh god.
Is that a beef paste?
Yeah,
Yeah,
beef
just
pate.
well, beef pate could be good, but like
It's all right. I mean, it's not bad, but it's like I like
I like a little more texture.
consistency. Yeah. It's like a flavored paste.
Yeah, well, you know, if beef proteins can be rendered into a flavored paste, then and people like it and like spreading it on their toast, then it's just a matter of having the right flavor profile. I mean, pate is like one step away from cat food.
Well, but also we're dealing with an economy in which like most people eat chicken nuggets and fucking hot dogs
That's just
for a
fried pate
significant amount of their
and
meals.
boiled pate,
I mean,
extruded boiled
basically,
pate, and yeah,
but
and
everybody's on the verge of eating like the Matrix slop as it is. And I refuse to believe that 9 out of 10 Americans have sophisticated palates. I refuse to believe that. I would assume that 9 out of 10 Americans don't like vegetables and they won't eat vegetables and they have to eat meat for every fucking meal and they won't even touch a vegetable and shit, shit like that where there's an element of
I'm imagining like
an immature.
meat paste coming out of like a toothpaste tube. It'd have like a key roller so you could like get every last drop of meat paste
I think
out.
they had that at one point.
I'm sure it's like sounds like astronaut food from
Yeah,
like the 60s.
but
Like,
not in the '60s though. Like in the '90s, I want to
oh.
say.
Oh yeah, meat in a tube.
Yeah.
Food tubes. That was definitely astronaut chicken nuggets. There you go. Oh
Yeah,
man.
the early '90s were obsessed with astronaut food. It's really weird. The astronaut ice cream.
That never actually went into space.
Yeah, some good marketing though.
We had a 6-hour layover.
Oh shit. Apparently there was a astronaut beef stew, and it kind of looks like a block of astronaut ice cream. Let's see.
Meanwhile, the actual NASA packets look like they'd be really fucking good because they bring in legit chefs to do that stuff.
Yeah, those are like the most advanced like MREs that have ever been created.
Yeah.
Russia still makes all their space food come in tubes. Cottage cheese with sea buckthorn puree, pork with vegetables, meat puree. Man. Ugh. Okay, so I just found like the entire YouTube of this, of every country's ration and MRE, like a taste testing thing. I hope that host who eats all this stuff doesn't develop like some kind of weird digestive system issues, because those things are packed with preservatives, to last for a long time. I mean, granted, there's decade longitudinal studies of what happens to people who eat that stuff, like for extended periods of time. So, oof. Yeah, and in all these pictures, her face gets progressively and progressively less enthusiastic. Man, is that really? I hate to think that that's the future. Is that thing that we're headed for? Is that things are actually so bad that we're essentially eating MREs, and food is coming in paste form.
What do you think of fucking TV dinner is? They just like renamed the MRE into a euphemistic capitalist framework.
TV dinner.
Not to say, some of them Salisbury steaks be slapping.
Yeah, no hate.
Hungry Man Salisbury steaks. I'm not above that shit.
There's no hate for any of those things. There have been plenty of times when it's like, if you're not feeling like you can cook, like if you're sick, that shit can come in really handy. Of course, there's some really advanced TV dinners nowadays. I remember like even like 10 years ago when I first started to see some really sophisticated, like, microwave dinner type stuff emerged. Actually, it'd be more like 15 years ago, but I started noticing some really, really sophisticated, like microwavable meals, and it was actually really impressive. That's not to say that like a bag of General Tso's chicken tastes anything like what you'd get at a restaurant, because it's basically just chicken nuggets with sauce in a bag. But as far as reasonable facsimiles go, when you're sick and can't taste anything anyways, but you want some comfort food, holy crap, that stuff's not bad at all.
You heard of Herculean meals?
Herculean meals?
Yeah, they're really good for like prep meals because that's where there are different levels of
Oh yeah. No, this is what I mean.
quality.
Like the stuff that looks like actual food.
Yeah, it is actual food,
Yeah.
and you can tell when you eat it because one of the a lot of times with those servings you have to eat two or three of them because it's not nutritious enough to make you feel full, whereas the Herculean meals actually like have the nutrition to make you like, okay, one serving's enough. I could eat more, but I'm good. Um, because to me that's always the sign of like nutritious food
Yeah.
that has like a good profile, which is like, sometimes you crave things that are heavy in one area and then it starts this like cascade of needing to counterbalance that, which,
I've
you
I've
know,
uh, I've found that I can game my stomach if I eat, no matter what I eat, if I just stop consuming that and consume something with a lot of sugar in it, my appetite is completely suppressed in that moment,
well, yeah,
and
that's,
for like hours later.
that's why people eat dessert.
Yeah.
That's like, once you eat sugar, your insulin should spike and then your body should start consuming the freely available like
Whatever's freely available.
this, yeah, which again it's like then you stop eating or you stop feeling hungry because your body's like working to satiate itself, but if you don't have enough then that causes like swings.
Yeah.
Which is like, people will spike their insulin and then have to do it again in a half an hour and then do it again in a half an hour and then they get in that snack rut and they're not eating actual nutritious food. And because they're snacking, they get satiated for like 10 minutes and then start thinking about food after that 10 minutes over again. And it's like, you really have to have enough protein and fat available for that to work, or
Yeah,
else it's gonna like
I think
start
that's
a cascade.
I think that's when snacking crosses the threshold into grazing.
Right,
Yeah, where
exactly.
like to me a snack is like, yeah, I'm gonna have some chips or a cookie, maybe two cookies. I'm not trying to make a meal out of a bag of chips or a box of cookies. An entire box of cookies would be like a reward and also a punishment later on when I'm trying to sleep. But definitely not a meal. How many cookies would you have to eat to feel completely full, but like I'm thinking like a dozen cookies. It would be enough to induce like food coma, but it would also result in like, really serious indigestion later on. For me, I don't think I could eat 12 like real cookies. I mean, I
You're talking
could
about like chocolate chip cookies.
like real cookies, not Chips Ahoy or Oreos, but like actual has some substance, like a chocolate chip cookie or a peanut butter cookie or a oatmeal raisin cookie, um, or some of like the really fancy ones that contain chunks of like candy bars in them even.
I think the issue with sweets is like because it's actively not nutritious, it becomes a compulsion after like a certain point
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, you're saying you couldn't eat 12 cookies.
I mean,
What's
I
the like,
could, but I don't think I would
but I
want to.
mean, what's the sixth cookie doing that the fifth cookie didn't do?
Oh, absolutely nothing.
And then what's the seventh cookie and subsequently the 12th? And that's where after a while, with sweets specifically, it becomes like because we're hungry, but leaning on actual sweets to try to satiate that hunger, the like impulse to fulfill that calorie gap results in like another cookie and then another cookie
Yeah.
because the calorie gap has not, but it's
It can never
also
be
the
breached.
nutrition gap.
Yeah. Those can never
Uh,
be like those voids can't be filled with
Not with
cookies.
cookies. Yeah. And even like if it's like
Maybe
a
if it had
nutrition
like, yeah,
bar,
I was gonna say like a power bar or something like that.
but it's not gonna give you the same um
Satisfaction at all
yeah, but and also the
because they taste like
serotonin drop.
cardboard.
It's not gonna give you endorphin
Yeah.
or the dopamine and serotonin drop that the cookies are gonna give you.
So maybe like
So
a
that's also like it's not gonna
honey-based
kick.
granola bar.
Well, but the issue is the feedback loop happens because of the serotonin and the dopamine.
Mm.
And that's where there's like that's why you don't overdose on fucking nutrition bars. Like
So
nobody
like
does.
a hemp seed-based granola cookie. Then we can get everything. Hemp seed cookies.
And it's gonna feel like a chore, which is like, again, I don't there's there is inherently a problem, I think, with trying to make food that's consumed for sustenance as good as food that's consumed for pleasure. Like when you're trying to mix the two, I think it ends up resulting in something that is theoretically good, but ends up doing more harm than good for various reasons, whether it's because you're not satiated by the thing completely or because it doesn't give you the dopamine and serotonin and then you end up pursuing the other thing. So like it it can end up it can work for some people, but for a lot of people I think those middle of the road attempts to make sustenance food pleasurable ends up, and a lot of it is just not pleasurable enough. So that attempt to make it pleasurable is like now it tastes kind of like medicine strawberry, and you're like, this doesn't taste like a strawberry milkshake, but it doesn't taste like good enough to justify drinking it because it's not real strawberry, and the addition of the strawberry brings out that medicine flavor, and it's like shit like that where um what you
Organic hemp
call it.
seed mud butter, 5 gallons. Raw,
Did you
creamy,
ever drink
delicious.
muscle milk?
I tried it one time because Winston had some.
So it's like that's one of those examples of that middle of the road product where it's got so much sugar that it undermines the benefits of the protein.
Mm.
So it's like it needs that sugar though to give you the serotonin to it does the thing that you were talking about earlier because then because you have the protein and the nutrients in tandem with the sugar, your appetite's actually suppressed. So if you drink a protein shake, generally people who drink the actual proper amount are able to go without eating and are able to sustain themselves off of that serving because the sugar suppresses their appetite, and then they can go do whatever, whether it's workout or work, without thinking about food. So that in that case, that's exactly the type of scenario in which that sugar appetite insulin spike suppression is perfect. But very rarely are people going to go for like one muscle milk and then not eat some shit on top of that. They drink a muscle milk and then they're like, "Fuck, I'm still hungry." So then they start snacking. They're like, "Oh, maybe I'll eat a protein bar."
And then they
Then they eat a
blend up an
protein bar.
entire like rotisserie chicken and drink that too.
Exactly. And then suddenly they're 300 pounds and now they have to go cutting phase because the fucking protein shit got out of control in their bulking phase. Even though they were successful in bulking,
They
they
overbulked.
got out of control. They got out of control because of those little things. So that's where I'm like, the middle of the road shit is easy to get out of control. And that's where I mean it's like a lot of um like it's not even necessarily about self-control. It's about knowing your body and knowing when it's going to be in most demand of calories so you can like work around that instead of trying to like force these arbitrary things where you're like, "Oh, I'm going to like diet like in the most intensive part of your caloric needs," where that wouldn't be realistic, where like I think Americans don't get a lot of guidance on um their individual consumption needs, but because we're inundated with like advertisements for food, we're actually constantly fighting off the urge to eat because it's like you might not even be thinking about food and you're like doing something and then suddenly there's a fucking Taco Bell advertisement because that's the way advertisements work. And it's like having to deal with that in addition to not knowing one's individual best operating times, I think is where a lot of people end up falling in traps of like poor consumption cycles that then are hard to break because of the serotonin and dopamine involved, where you're like, it's hard to not go to Taco Bell at like 2 in the morning when you know it's there and you know it's open and you're hungry even though you know you could just go to sleep and wake up and be fine. You don't actually need that meal because you've already eaten 2 to 3 times that day. But like when somebody's in the mindset of like going and getting Taco Bell at 2 in the morning, like breaking that mindset is really, really difficult, especially the longer that cycle persists. So that's where I'm like, I don't, it's not that the Taco Bell shouldn't be open necessarily. It's that people's awareness of their own um, consumption cycles isn't happening in a vacuum. And so I think in that context, it's like there has to, it takes an active awareness of one's own consumption cycle, not to let it be out of your own control and be like dictated by these forces that you have not you have some control over them, but it's like you can't know when an advertisement is going to happen. Like even if you're out in the real world, a bus could drive by with a sign on it or like a car could drive by that's delivering some shit and it's got fucking Jimmy John's on top of it. And suddenly you're thinking about Jimmy John's. And that's where those are things people can't control. And in that context, it's like Americans specifically, I think we've been inundated with notions of like diets as constructed habits of eating that are usually imposed by other people. But if a person like figured out their most cardio responsive times of day to know when their heart rates are going to be higher, to know when they're going to need more calories, when they're going to be more likely to be in like a calorie deficit, then I know for me it's been easier to adjust, but Americans in general, I think, couldn't use sugar to suppress their appetites unless they have that awareness of their consumption cycles. Because it could, like, most oftentimes, I think it causes a cascade because it's a lot of times like a sugary snack that then ends up half an hour later causing a salty graze that never necessarily ends and continues into more salty grazing and may
Salty
be mixed
grazing.
in with sugar snacking because it's hard to sugar graze. Like
Oh
your teeth
man.
start hurting. Your fucking teeth start hurting
Okay,
if you graze too
when
long.
I was younger and I could actually sit through like an entire bag of candy while watching a movie. Yeah, but you got to space it out because if you go too hard on the candy, you'll pass out. It's just the nature of a big bag of candy while sitting in one space watching a movie. You get nice and warm in that seat, and next thing you know, you wake up and you missed a big chunk of what's going on, and you look down and that bag is like almost empty. Ah, shit, went too hard on the Sour Patch Kids this time. I better watch it next time. It's real. It's really it's really messed up. Actually, there are a lot of movies that I can't remember that I had movie stubs for, like ticket stubs for, because I just drank the icy too fast and fell asleep because I couldn't handle the sugar. But eventually, I learned how to not do that to myself because who wants to spend $20 like to take a nap in a movie theater of all places? I mean, I don't
Well,
even
those
want to.
seats are comfortable as fuck though.
They really are, but I mean, I don't even want to go to a movie theater. Oh, that's a good idea. Now I just need to get one of those movie theater seats. See how much does one of those things cost? Oh, those things are not cheap. Oh, here we go. Movie theater style, $367. Yeah, that's still kind of obscene. But yeah, falling asleep during a movie, it's one thing if it's at home. I can I can get away with that. But I don't even want to sit down and eat an entire bag of candy while watching a movie anymore. Like especially not a theater sized candy bags. Those things are like gigantic. Like easily four normal helpings of candies. Like well no, four normal bag servings of candy in like one of those movie theater bags. And that's actually kind of messed up. I mean, it's not that they sell them like that, but that's just way too much. And I love sugar. I love candy.
It's just movie theater food is so overpriced. It's like I don't even know how they get away with that shit because
I think
Like a hot dog.
it's because the moviegoer who's willing to spend the money on that stuff is like,
No, 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 no. I mean, I know the moviegoer. I mean, I don't know how that shit's legal to sell a single hot dog for more than a pack costs because people are hostage. That shit
yeah.
is fucking absurd. Like those hot dogs are like $7. You get two fucking packs of hot dogs on sale
Let's see.
for the price of one movie hot dog.
AMC charges 760 to 790 for
I
nachos.
was being, yeah.
Chicken tenders are 740 to 780. Pepperoni pizza slice is, or a little one of the mini disc pepperoni or cheese pizzas 750 to 770. Hot dogs are $5. I haven't been to a movie theater in a while. And the last movie saw was Captain Marvel, and I didn't buy a drink or a hot dog or any of this stuff apparently. Holy crap! A loaded all beef hot dog at AMC concession price is $13.
That's obscene. That's actually obscene.
What the? Really? It's the same price as a chicken and waffle sandwich.
Where's that at?
Um, this is
Where's the chicken and waffle sandwich?
it's not telling me. AMC concession prices updated October 2021. Well, I imagine that those expenses has gone up. It costs $22 to get a large popcorn bucket apparently.
So wait, they're selling chicken and waffle sandwiches at the movies?
Apparently.
That's fucking weird. Okay.
I'm
I'm
not
not mad, but
No.
that's
I wouldn't expect
definitely weird.
I wouldn't expect that there.
That'd be like if you went to a movie theater and they were selling sushi. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad, but it's like, okay, that's an odd choice.
See here.
Chicken and waffles.
Cinemark concession prices in 2023. A large bag of candy is $4.60. A large popcorn is $8.10. A hot
I feel
dog
like
is $4.50.
burritos and pizza are perfect movie food.
Yeah.
But I've never seen any theater selling burritos.
Ooh, Chipotle's AMC theaters.
Wait, does that exist?
No, but it does now.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna build one now.
Yeah,
Yeah, people are still trying to figure out how to sneak a Chipotle into a theater. Huh. AMC Theater Burrito. I'm gonna look for that.
all I got was stories about people trying to sneak burritos in the movies.
Yeah.
Because it's a perfect movie food, of course. Of course they're gonna try to sneak them in.
Or a submarine sandwich, even would be fine. Piled high and packed with flavor. Apparently, there are some AMC theaters that have fancy sandwiches. Oh, there are AMC theaters that do dine-in service. Movies with a menu.
Before, I know before the pandemic, there was like a place downtown in Indianapolis that was trying to open up and was gonna do dinner in movies, but the pandemic hit like right as they were about to open. So I don't know. I think they might have. I don't know if they closed down or just never opened.
What? Okay, the
Oh
closest
no, they did open it. It's the can, I think it's called.
the closest I don't even know if any of these are very close at all. There's five locations in Illinois. They look like they're probably all up in near Chicago. Um, two locations in Ohio. Yeah, those are the closest locations. Illinois and Ohio for the dine-in AMC movie experience. I'm not sure that's worth it. That seems like way over the top for just to go see a movie and have a plate of chicken. I think you're onto something like with the movie and a burrito. I mean, that's just like super high end food in a tube, though.
Yeah.
Not complaining. I'm just.
Edible tube.
Yeah, the burrito is like the earliest form of astronaut food. Why can't I have a burrito at a movie theater?
Wow. So that can place has some like it's way upper scale compared to like the AMC menu,
Yeah, the AMC menu sucked.
but the prices aren't that different.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, some of the stuff is like the dinner dishes are there's like expensive ones, but I imagine this is not going to end up being much more expensive than some fucking AMC popcorn where you could get like a burger along with your movie or like duck duck confit.
Oh, there you go. Duck confit, steak frites, sea bass, Mediterranean goulash.
Oysters
Okay, this
along
is
with the movie.
this is a really different menu.
Yeah, it's way different. So good for them.
Walrus, the carpenter, a dozen, 1 dozen oysters, 2 glasses of scarpetta prosecco.
But
The
yeah,
membership.
I think it don't seem that there's like a middle of the ground between this and AMC type shit where like this I feel like not necessarily only rich people are gonna go to, but like I don't I don't know if regular people are gonna go and buy dinner at the Can. They may go and watch the movies there potentially.
Well, right now they're showing Priscilla, uh, The Maltese Falcon, Anatomy of a Fall, and Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a new movie.
Yeah.
Um, it looks like this is for like cinema people. This is for people like who are into watching movies. Sunset Boulevard here in November 12th, 14th, and 15th. And then on the 13th, they're going to have Twilight Saga, New Moon. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is like a really weird. I don't know what they're dialed into. They've got a lot of interesting looking stuff, and then a lot of stuff that's like, wait, what the hell? Tammy and
Hmm.
the T Rex with Vanity Rex. What the crap? Um,
Adam's Family.
yeah. AV Club Theater, The Violent Years, and Bat Pussy. Not even sure what that is. And then Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I've seen. So Wes Anderson animation. This is a really diverse list of movie. Devil in a Blue Dress was really good. They're going to show Evangelion 3 plus 1.01 Thrice Upon a Time in December. That's a really specialized audience that wants to go see that. I mean, really specialized. You got to enjoy watching like teenagers like yelling at each other. That's a series that I used to love watching that did not hold up for me because after a while it becomes like an abusive children's story, and it's like, what the fuck? These are adults taking advantage of the kids because they fucked the world up.
Well, a lot of anime you can't think too critically
Yeah,
as an adult about, or else yeah, it just is like really sad.
yeah. No,
Like all the
before,
Gundam shit, it's like you can't really.
dude, that's like the most imperialist shit, like the most
Yeah.
fascist imperialist governments building the most dangerous machines so that they could fight each other
With some teenagers.
with teenage pilots because adults can't operate these things. Pff, are you kidding? We're not going to trust an adult to this entire country's GDP. Like, no, we're going to put it in the hands of this kid. Can't even buy cigarettes yet. Not gonna lie though,
Well, and
I think
there's
I would like to go to this place at some point because I think this place looks pretty rad. They're willing to show a bunch of really interesting movies.
I'm just
Although,
glad the pandemic didn't take him out because the timing was just like unfortunate.
yeah,
Like to start up something like this right when the pandemic hits. That's like 1,000% dependent upon in-person attendance.
art house cinema. We screen all manner of films. We like to focus on small budget, big idea driven, endlessly fun to talk about movies. Huh. They also curate a different film series and unique moviegoer experience. Okay, well, movies are picked. They have a film program that's curated by a team. Well, that's kind of cool. They like to choose films that reflect the cultural sensibilities and address the local social issues that affect Indianapolis. Huh. I think this place is pretty cool. Weekly food special Monday Bunday.
Well,
Steam.
you think they'd have a place like that in Bloomington?
You think?
They used to, but it didn't survive. Like it's like a noodle house now. They used to show films
Oh, the
and
Von Lee.
yeah.
Yeah, Von Lee
I
was
don't know if
great.
it's a noodle house, whatever
Uh,
it's called.
Noodle Company.
Yeah.
It was that for a while, but I don't know if that's what it is anymore. I haven't been downtown there anymore. when I was a teenager, I scaled the wall of the Von Lee because uh, it's just made out of in such a way that it was easy to just climb up like Spider-Man. Actually, my dad took me there one time. We watched the movie Pi, and every time the computer was about to deliver the answer to the question and it went on the fritz, and like the last time it was supposed to give him the answer, the film melted. To this day, I've never seen the end of that movie. Like, I don't think I could see a better version of that movie. And then on the way out, because my dad had gone to the restroom, like the theater attendant was handing out like, passes for to see another movie. He's like, "Here, I'm here with my kids." So he handed them 2 tickets. I was on my way. It's like, I was here with my dad, and he handed me 2 tickets. I'm trying to think if there's any other movies I've seen at that place that I could remember. I know I'd been
Oh,
there.
the movie theater on the east side finally shut down.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
About damn time. That place was disgusting.
It was totally on life support for a while where I'm like,
Oh
it's
man,
good to see it go, but it's like it's actually shocking that it actually closed down. Um I thought Bloomingtonians were just gonna fucking keep going to that shitty little fucking movie theater forever. Now I'll shell out $16 to sit in a shitty sticky theater,
ugh.
maybe get bed bugs.
So the last thing I saw in that place was it was like a screening of the Riff Tracks guys doing Plan 9 from Outer Space live in some theater in like Tennessee or something. Um, and it was very amusing seeing Plan 9 from Outer Space on a really big screen. And then of course hearing their commentary. Huh. Well, that's good at least. At least my last memory of that place was enjoyable, despite it knowing how nasty it was.
And that group is so good. The cinematic Titanic,
Oh, Cinematic Titanic,
and then riff tracks
Mystery Science
and
Theater
fucking
3000.
yeah, which is still going. And it's like, I mean, I guess riff tracks is technically still going too, but
Oh
that
wait,
they're still doing that shit is like, I feel like they're counterculture in a way. Like this feels like the last frontier of counterculture that's still mainstream. And I guess to a degree, they're on the fringe of the mainstream. Like we know
oh
who
man,
MST3K is, but a lot of people don't.
I think the mainstream version is like Futurama, basically. That's as close as the mainstream can get to like Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like that level of absurd comedy. It's not it's I don't think it's mainstream friendly.
No, because I mean, when they made the movie, it didn't do well.
It requires like, you know, the ability to watch a movie and hear some commentary at the same time and make sense of
That
both of them.
that movie made $1 million at the box office.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, it lost basically $4 million because it cost a little under 5 million to make, and then they only made 1 million. So yeah, definitely not mainstream. Like
Oh.
I remember when that movie got made, and I was like, "What? I
Wait,
don't know
what?
what's."
Why?
Yeah,
Man, 11 years though. That's a good run for a TV series that just lampoons the old cult films and TV shows.
Yeah, 1994 feels like the peak year that like corporations were trying to take advantage of shit. Like, and then 1996 was the peak year of the shit that all those corporations tried to produce that was absolute dog shit. Because I remember that was about when everybody started getting number one issues in comic books. Like they're gonna give fucking Jubilee a number one issue and give her own comic, and fucking Gambit gets his own comic, and Rogue gets her own comic, and fucking Beast gets his own. Everybody gets their own
You know what
comic
was
because they
sad about
want
all those like special storylines is they were just PSAs.
to. Yeah,
Like
a lot of them.
at best they were just a PSA about like whatever that mutant special powers, like the Jubilee PSA series that was basically about be careful when playing with matches or some shit. It's like don't start fires. Be careful around fireworks. Be careful around flammable substances. It was terrible. That's basically what they did to her in X-Men the animated series too. She was like a giant PSA for fire safety. She couldn't go anywhere without starting a fire someplace. In all of the times that I've gone camping, very rarely is it the young teenage girl who even tries to start the fire. Man, X-Men just got fucked up for me. X-Men's always been fucked up. Like crap, I had no idea that there were this many riff tracks.
Oh yeah, there's a ton, and they're still coming out. Like,
Yeah.
and then Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day doing MST3K, still putting shit out. I feel like Patton Oswalt probably funds a lot of it out of his own pocket. That sounds like the type of shit he just would have fun doing and like wanting to be a part of as a legacy. So yeah, it seems like once he got involved, um, not that Felicia Day didn't have some influence on it, but it feels it feels pseudo corporate in that they're trying to make it like increase the production value, but not actually make it a corporate product. So that's where I don't know the shit behind the scenes, but that's what I feel. That's the way it like comes off.
He voiced a talking cat in Star Trek Picard. A talking
Oh,
animated cat.
by the way, I don't know if you've seen Invincible,
Oh, that did
but
they made more of them?
yeah, the season two just started. Like
Okay.
the fucking voice cast is like it's out of this world. I was like trying to figure out who one person was because I'm like, man, that sounds like Zazie Beats. And I'm like, man, they put fucking Zazie Beats in everything when they're trying to like make people like it. Um, and I'm like, oh, sure enough, it is. But then I started seeing the rest of the like the cast. It's like fucking Mark Hamill, Zachary Gillian Jacobs or Jillian Jacobs or I think it's Gillian. Um, J like what's her name? Sandra O, J.K. Simmons, fucking Mahershala Ali is in there. Although not Percy's persona non grata. Ezra Miller randomly.
Oh,
Fucking Seth
really?
Rogen. Yeah.
Man, you could put J.K. Simmons' voice in pretty much anything, and he's just got a great voice. A very very talented actor, obviously, but
Mhm.
like he's just fantastic. Like he was in like the second Avatar series. He was really good in that.
Well, it's just because he puts himself in all of his roles, like
Yeah.
whether it's Oz or fucking Spider Man. It's like he goes 100% in the role, which is like not everybody does that. Um,
He's been in an episode of He's been in 4 episodes of Archer.
but his Omni Man is like perfect. He's
Man, 225 acting roles. This guy is busy. 2023 start. He was
well, you
in
can tell he enjoys it, and that's where I think
yeah.
I don't think he's lacking for any sort of money or anything
Oh
like
no,
that.
no.
Um,
He was in French Connection 3 in 1986 as patrolman in the park. He was in an episode of All My Children. He was in The Ref with Dennis Leary. And then he does the English voice for an English voice for Pom Poko, an anime.
mm.
So right out the gate, he's doing voice acting. That was in '94. Man, this guy's been in like everything.
Have you ever looked up the pictures of all the voice actors in the old X-Men cartoon? It's fucking hilarious, like how different the people are than the characters they played in time. Like in that, when you're a kid, those people, their voices absolutely embody those characters, except when it gets to like what is it, like season 5 or some shit, when it's just the animations fucked, the storylines are completely different. But like the early, I think it's like seasons 1 through 4, where everybody is the quintessential versions of those characters in our child minds. The actual people playing them were like, if you saw them in a grocery store, you'd be like, there's no way this person is like a voice actor or a voice actress or some shit. They just, I mean, not to say, I don't know what a voice actor or voice actress would look like.
Other than a human being.
But they were so much older than the people that they were playing, in that that's where I'm like, oh, I can't imagine this like 65-year-old man doing voice acting for a fucking kids cartoon, because he looks like he needs to be somewhere giving out hard candy to his grandkids or some shit. Like, no, but he's somewhere voice acting, and like it's just they they weren't young. Not to say that the people doing the voices should have been young necessarily, but it was like they
Oh
were
my
like
goodness.
extraordinarily old.
So the Professor and Beast are in 75 episodes. Wolverine and Rogue and Jubilee are in 74 episodes. Jean Grey and Cyclops are only in 73 episodes, and Gambit gets 72, so they give more screen time to Jubilee than they do to Gambit. Magneto only gets 29 episodes. Storm only gets 51 episodes. Huh. The story was about the Professor and Beast, apparently. I guess
I mean,
that's like the Captain and Riker, I guess.
it's the Charles Xavier School for the Gifted, not the Aurora Monroe School for the Gifted.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, that I mean, we all know now. Fucking Charles is not a good guy. So
No. It turns out Magneto wasn't the bad guy either.
have you seen Legion?
I wait. Was that the one on FX where
Yeah,
shit gets really crazy because it's like the guy can project his mind into realities onto people?
but it's Charles's son,
Yeah.
and the reason he's insane is because Charles is a terrible father.
I mean, this comes as no surprise.
Yeah. So they did a good job exploring. Um, I feel like that's not the first time, but one of the more morally ambiguous explorations of the Xavier character in media. But they start doing it in First Class with Raven, and how like Charles is clearly he starts manipulating her from the time they were kids to be his weapon, and they're not really friends. So like I thought they did a good job there of showing that like no matter what he says, Charles Xavier is like a manipulator first. Um and that's where I think they did a good job of showing why Magneto is as his counterpoint not 100% evil, and it's like Charles's rigidity is what effectively is the root of Magneto's rigidity, and in terms of Charles's rigidity of being adamant that he's going to try to work with humans no matter how much they try to kill mutants, and that pisses off Eric to the point where that dynamic as being that is the main focus. It's like when even though it's called the X-Men, that struggle is the main focus of the story, and the kids specifically are variable, they're interchangeable, they're expendable, and I think it's easy to forget that the X at the beginning of X-Men stands for Xavier.
Yeah.
Like, but we're reminded over the course of the years of him becoming more and more overtly manipulative that it's like, nah, it was always Xavier's men. Even though they all obviously weren't all men at that, but Xavier first.
It just makes me realize that like all of his power comes from like essentially penetrating the minds of others. Whereas like Magneto's power is literally attracting things.
Well, and then in Logan, it's like when he is no longer in control of that power, how fantastic that power could actually be if he used it the wrong way.
Oh,
and
how
when it's
unbelievably dangerous it was.
Yeah.
That's some scary shit.
So yeah, we saw the out of control Xavier, but we haven't really seen evil Xavier on screen yet, which is like I feel like we're getting there.
There's still time. They can always
Oh,
tell a
there's plenty
story
of
from
time.
back in the 70s.
Exceptional radio.
Exceptional Randos shows produced live in Sunroom Studios' Base Capsule. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Well, that was random. Exceptional radio.